Hola científicos, mi nombre es José Gregorio Hernández.
Y yo soy Karen Ardila Fierro. En la página de hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial, el profesor Carsten Bolm, director del Instituto de Química Orgánica de la Universidad RWTH en Aachen, Alemania. El profesor Bolm tiene amplia experiencia como investigador, editor y autor. Y el día de hoy nos compartirá secretos del mundo editorial y algunos consejos para mejorar nuestros artículos científicos.
What a great pleasure to have today in our channel Professor Carsten Bolm from the RWTH Aachen University in Germany. Thank you very much for having accepted our invitation.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much, Jose, and hola.
Oh, great. Professor Carsten Bolm is an international authority in the field of organic chemistry with an impressive scientific career. But instead of giving a list of all his recognitions, I want to focus only on two numbers, which I consider quite remarkable. So we are having this interview in December 2020. By this time, Professor Carsten Bolm has supervised and graduated more than 100 doctorate students. And if I'm not wrong, he has published over 500 scientific papers. So the first question is, do I have those numbers right?
I think this is perfectly right. And honestly speaking, I was shocked at some point because, you know, we have a little celebration once the doctoral students finish their doctoral exam, and then the door opens and they go out and they start celebrating. And in this moment, I also stepped out and I was told this was number 100.
Oh, wow.
I think in the doctoral student numbers, we are like 120 now, maybe. And the publication number is, I believe, also correct. Honestly speaking, I don't remember each publication, I assume, but very many of them. And I think 500 is about right.
Well, that's great, because the first question here is a difficult one. Do you remember the year when you published your first scientific paper, or at least the journal in which your paper was published?
I think I do so because I spent some time in the US as a master's student.
Okay.
And in that time, I was with Professor Hans Reich. So I was doing some studies in his laboratory under the supervision of another doctoral student. And later, I became co-author on a publication which I believe appeared in JACS.
Oh, wow.
So that was I think a full paper where my name was on the paper. And later on, when I was a doctoral student, we also published some contributions. And the very first one I published with my mentor, Professor Reitz, was actually in a journal which is rather unknown, I believe. It's some industrial chemistry journal, very small paper, only 2 pages. But I think it was very highly cited.
Oh, nice. That's great. So, well, you just mentioned 2 papers which are important for you, but among so many papers that you have published, is there one more that you remember particularly well? Let's say your first paper as a corresponding author, or a paper that was difficult to publish, or one with a funny story behind?
There are many interesting papers. Yeah, so some papers appeared, and I did not really see the real importance and the significance of the paper. I give you one example. We published one article in Organic Letters. I think it was very solid work. And it was a nice paper, and I was happy. I received a comment by the editor-in-chief, actually, and he had handwritten comments as a nice paper. So I was very proud. I was happy, but I didn't see the real significance. It's the paper on the sulfur immunation with rhodium catalysis. Before it came out, I went to a conference and presented the chemistry. And immediately after that talk, someone from industry came up to me and said, wow, this is extremely interesting protocol. And I'm very happy to see this because the immunization occurs at room temperature. And all of these little details we had described, but I didn't emphasize them. Yeah? So it's a very modestly written paper, which is highly cited by now. And this is something that industry later used, and many people applied this protocol. And we just had published it as a minor communication, yeah. So I did not see the value at all, but I think it's a wonderful paper. It's maybe one of the best we have.
Oh, that's great. You are a consolidated author, but I want to ask you: do your papers still get rejected once in a while?
Oh, sure. It's a game, you know. As you know, I'm also the associate editor for the Journal of Organic Chemistry, so I see the other side. And it also depends very much on the individual reviewers. Sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes also we as editors and the editors that we handle our papers to select maybe not the most dedicated reviewers. And so you get reviews which are maybe not even suitable, which are not helpful at all, yeah, and paper is rejected. It happens all the time. So it's like a game. Yeah, it's you wish to have nice recommendations. You wish to improve your manuscript by reading the reviews, which is commonly done, which actually commonly happens. So I'm very happy to get also critical reviews. Yeah? I'm unhappy about reviews which are not saying anything. So to get critical reviews is very helpful for improving the paper. So sure, it happens all the time. We get rejected and we submit somewhere else.
Precisely. When you get rejected, how do you cope with rejection? Do you get angry or you get extra motivated and you try again?
It depends very much on the kind of rejection. Yeah. So if I see that there's some justification, I think then I can live with it very well. You know, sometimes you submit to a very high ranked journal and your feeling is maybe we're fortunate, maybe we're not so fortunate, can be. And then you get the rejection, you say, okay, it just didn't turn out, and the reviewers maybe they have some right points. What is really annoying is if you get reviews, in particular leading to a rejection, which are unjustified. Yeah, so where you see criticism which is not justified, and where you know that the criticism is somehow artificial. I don't like to get recommendations for a number of more experiments. Yeah, so commonly, you know, you feel you come to an end of your research program with this particular topic, and you feel that you have done so much, and then the reviewer asks you to do 20 more experiments. I don't like that. Yeah, so I think it's commonly not a good idea to ask for more and more experiments, because everybody can do so. So if it's a justified and a very well qualified report, I'm very happy to get it. I'm very happy to work on it because I know it will improve our manuscript. If it's unjustified, I'm very unhappy.
And now that we are speaking about rejections, well, commonly there are two ways how a paper can get rejected. Either directly by the editor who handles a new submission or by the referees. You just mentioned it. You have been an associate editor of the Journal of Organic Chemistry for 12 years. As an author, how do you decide whether or not to send out a paper for evaluations? In other words, what are those things that you always check as an editor before sending out a paper?
So I'm very lucky to have a very qualified journal. Yeah? So the Journal of Organic Chemistry is very high ranked, and there's a lot of pre-looking at the paper already. So everything is sent to the editor-in-chief. They do a very detailed analysis already. So what I get is extremely pre-selected. And as you mentioned, I've been doing this now for 12 years, or maybe even longer. So I don't know, maybe 14 or something. So it's quite a number of time. And we look at 200, 300 papers per year almost. Yeah. So it's a significant number. And out of those, I have only very, very few, maybe a handful, maybe less than 10, rejected immediately based on the outlook of the appearance of the paper. In some cases, you don't want to send them to reviewers to bother them. Yeah, so some authors simply cannot write or not express themselves, or it's not even belonging to that kind of journal. So in that case, I think it's the duty of the editor-in-chief to take care and not to bother the reviewers. But otherwise, I think we have very, very qualified reviewers all around the world. And so I'm happy to ask them for advice. Yeah? And I commonly also take their advice very seriously into account. So if they say yes, it's very hard for me to say no. But if they say no, then maybe I have to think why they say no. And most of the time, I'm in agreement with the reviewers.
Okay. And is there any suggestion from you as an editor to authors about what we should avoid doing when writing or submitting a scientific paper?
Well, first of all, I think the chemistry has to be right. So we all are scientists, and I think if this chemistry is done well, you also have a good chance of getting it published in a high-ranked journal. The other aspect is care, taking care. So it's also a little bit of taking care of the format, of trying to avoid mistakes, of looking at the guidelines before the presentation is very important. And then the way of writing. You want to interest the reader. If you write the article, you're happy if the community reads your article, and that is commonly done if you attract the attention of the reader. Don't exaggerate, So don't use all these buzzwords as new, highly efficient and environmentally benign or something, that I read all the time. It's not the case, but just describe the facts that they are attractive. You want to attract the attention of the reader. And once that is achieved, I think the presentation in itself has also a certain value. So I try to vary introductions. I don't want the same introduction all the time, because I think if you are a reader, you don't want to see the same thing all the time.
Right.
So try to find variations. And I think it's a wonderful experience to write and to read very well written papers.
Yeah, you're right. In addition of being an author and an editor, I know that you are often requested to help as a referee to evaluate papers submitted by your peers. In your role as a reviewer, what do you focus the most on when evaluating a paper?
Science.
Simple, direct. Science.
No, it's also, I mean, I had manuscripts which were extremely badly written. And honestly, I mean, I know we all get so many requests to review articles, manuscripts, research programs, whatever. So, and we all do it aside. My major job is to teach and to do science work myself. I do the reviewing aside. It's an additional work that we do. And for that, I don't want to be bothered. So if I get a manuscript that is extremely badly written, is full of mistakes, then that will have an impact also on my report. Even if the science is brilliant, so I can express it. I can write, yes, I would be in favor for reporting these findings, but I simply don't like and one time I wrote this, if the 20 eyes of the authors missed so many mistakes. So there were 20 authors on the manuscript, and I doubt that they ever have read the article. So, and I wrote this down. I don't know what the editor did, but at least I felt it was necessary to express clearly what I felt.
Now we are speaking about peer reviewing, and some colleagues complain that peer reviewing takes a lot of their time. In your case, why do you do peer reviewing? Is there an advantages for you to be a reviewer of scientific papers?
Well, I think it also goes along the same line as being editor. So I see it on one hand, it's a duty to the community. I think we're all involved. As I mentioned before, as an author, I want my articles to be reviewed carefully. I want them to be looked at because I can improve them. So the same thing is from the reviewer's point of view. If I get a manuscript and I look at it, it's my duty to contribute to the community. So it's part of my business. On the other hand, I also have to say I really enjoy reading science, and if it's not published, it's not published yet. It's brand new, and commonly you get manuscripts that are not directly in the peak of your own interest. So it's not that they report this particular transformation that we work on. It's somehow related, and because it's related, I can expand my knowledge. And sometimes also as an editor, I take the opportunity to look at articles which are published around the contribution. So I get stimulus from the reviewing. And I think all of us who do this extensively have benefited from seeing so many different articles, so many different publications and projects. Not directly, we don't use the chemistry that is reported there. It's just this surrounding. You look for articles which are related, you look for things which are somehow in the context, and that improves our knowledge.
Right. I know that you're a person who is always thinking about the future. As a visionary, how do you imagine the dissemination of scientific results in 10 or 20 years from now? Do you think that we will still have scientific journals, or are scientists going to publish their results in some kind of scientific Twitter?
It's an extremely difficult question, because if I look back, as you mentioned, over the more than a decade of being editor, I can see how the scientific publication business has changed over the years. So we have many, many more journals. We have many, many more contributions, also regional changes. So when I started, I think there were not so many Chinese authors as we do have now. Major contributions, major scientific advances coming from Asia also these days. So all of that contributes to a tremendous change in the publication business. If you think about open access that we have now, that was not so prominent. It was existing when I started. So I'm really hesitant in looking into the future. So maybe the journal format will be different. Maybe the setup of articles, the distribution will be different. I hope that we still will have contributions that we call the full article. It's not only that we have a reaction and we have to talk about it immediately. I have done a reaction and I Twitter it. I think it's nicer to discuss the whole background about the finding and to have a full scope. So I like these articles that discuss the whole impact of the finding, and not only one sentence.
That's great.
And I hope this will continue. I'm convinced it will continue.
Okay. Now I have a more personal question. Success is a relative term or a relative concept, but I'm sure that the large majority of people would agree that you are a successful scientist. To what do you attribute your success in life and in science? I told you it was going to be a difficult interview.
I have no idea. And I don't know what success is, honestly. I've never been very focused on things. So I'm very bad in making predictions. I have sparks and ideas, maybe. So I can send this morning, I send around 2 or 3 short ideas to the group. If they are picked up, it's very fine. But overall, I would say I'm just following my internal feeling about what could be of interest. And I've seen this before. So one of my mentors was Professor Sharpless, and I think he has a tremendous feeling about chemistry. Also acknowledged extreme knowledge, but also the feeling of where to go to and what to do. So I feel somehow it's necessary to have this gut feeling of where to move to and what is of interest, and then you follow it. Just follow your own interest, and you will find something, I'm sure.
Okay, and now just to finish this interview, could you give one piece of advice for a young researcher who is writing their first scientific paper?
Send it to JOC. No, this is not right. I think just try to do the good science, try to write it in a proper manner, and maybe ask also for advice of people who have published a series of articles. It's not that they have to, let's say, to correct you, but I think some of the more advanced colleagues have so much experience in the field that their recommendations might be actually good ones. Circle around all the articles. So I learned we don't do this extensively, but very often it's helpful to circle around articles to get a lot of opinions. So inside the group, or to give it to people who can evaluate the science as well. I think all of this can be of interest, and that will improve the first manuscript, and then the publication is most likely to come out at some point.
Absolutely. Professor Bolm, thank you very much for taken the time to speak to us today. It was fantastic having you here, and we will be alert to read your next manuscript.
Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best in the future, and also with the channel. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Espero que hayas disfrutado de esta entrevista. No olvides dejarnos tus comentarios, suscríbete a este canal y hasta la próxima página del Diario Científico.